Hello, everybody. This is James Diboe on Discovering, dedicated to original peoples as always. And we've got a special guest who's been on before and now brought him back in for the part two. Edison Agbandje. How are you doing, my brother?
Agbandje, but not
Agbandje.
Don't worry about
That's
it.
it, brother.
I take no offense. You know our names.
I get my name sometimes. People say
Naturally.
Diboe. And, yeah.
Exactly. People, African names don't roll off people's tongues. So.
That's it. Anyway, from Ancestral Essence, anyway, we had a great conversation last time we were on. And before we definitely do a part two because I was very enlightening and I've had great feedback. And, and welcome back anyway. And thanks for your time.
It's a pleasure to come. I enjoyed the first one. And again, because of the angle you're coming from, being that it's the authentic indigenous experience. Not someone's giving you this written post-it note where they're coming with all their different emotions, or some people are, with their colonized minds, they're seeing it with colonized eyes. So to be able to see it direct yourself and tell that story, that's priceless.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And like I say, last time when I've been watching a lot of your videos and I thought I really relate to these and I've definitely got to connect. Do you know what I mean? It makes sense, and even though within different cities, I think I've already always had that international thinking to connect with our people wherever we are. I don't have a segregated mentality of this is your area or this is your city, and we all go back to the motherland. So
exactly.
And some great things we need to discuss on the Yoruba tribe, isn't it? I mean, Ijo. And so with the Yoruba now, we want to get into a bit more about the Yoruba. Like we covered a lot last time, but
honestly, I have it in my ancestry, but initially I'm Orobo. So we're Delta State.
Delta State.
We're in Delta State in Nigeria, so we're from there. From
a
place near Warri, Orogun. That's where.
Well, funny enough, that would be me. On my father line, that would be where Ijo's, but there's a grandmother who's.
I've heard of that. Okay, go ahead. But yeah, go on.
There's a grandmother who's the tribe you just said. Then we always forget about this tribe. You see, we always think of Ijo like this father line thing. We forget about the grandmothers, which is not a good thing to all your blood.
Exactly, because all of their ancestral energy is within you.
Yeah.
So whatever your people practiced and the energies that they called on becomes part of your DNA database, because DNA is only a database of information of all the actions of all your ancestors across all of the different lifetimes. Every one of them is within you. It's just your energy will bring their memory or that information from your database, from that database of all your DNA into your conscious mind to use.
Yeah, that's right.
That stuff is there.
Yeah, so when we got ancestors who's done some DNA ancestry testing, very interesting, especially my mother's side on the Caribbean, Trinidad and that.
Okay, and as well.
It's funny, like because you probably watched the programs where they do some of the American celebrities getting the DNA test, like Chris Rock, Chris Tuck. There's a lot of different people doing it, and they were pinpointing the tribe. Now, when I actually analyze it, there's not one particular, unless you only want to deal with your father's line only. Sometimes you want to cut out all these other family members when they're doing, because you will have multiple different African countries, even when you go further back. I've seen Sierra Leone, I've seen Gambia, I've seen Nigeria, I've seen all sorts, so that's when people are trying to locate the tribe, and then there's not going to be you're directly only to this country. There's other countries,
It's a tough one for me for that.
Yeah.
My logic doesn't allow me to accept it, only because you would have had to, a lot of these countries didn't exist before 1917.
That's right, yeah.
And in my own lineage, I can go back 8 generations, which takes me, and the people didn't live to 40 or 50, 80, 90, 100, even though they didn't use that calendar form at that time. So we go back 400 or 500 years. And at that time, only the local names for those tribes were known. In the West, they didn't know them. and they didn't
Yeah.
store them. And even as if you've been, you're in Nigeria and you're in your own state and they're doing the news, they're going to do it in about 10 or so different languages because there's that many tribes in that small area. And some of those tribes are big or not, and nobody, even if they know the name of the tribe, went and say, let me take their DNA, just in case 400 or 500 years later, we're going to need them for an experiment.
Yeah, yeah.
So the logic of comparison of what they have to what was there, it doesn't make any sense, especially to find the village. And like I said, the whole of Africa was carved up by the, what do you call it? I can't remember. Is it Cecil Rhodes and a few other people did what they did, carved up Africa, carved up, created countries that weren't countries. There was tribes, but there wasn't countries. So, in honesty, when they say you're from Nigeria, it's just, or Ghana or from wherever, like I said, 100 years ago, 200, no, just over 100 years ago, they didn't exist. Nigeria never existed, nor did.
That's right, yes.
So therefore, it's like history, the lie you want to believe.
That's right. It's funny how we think in terms of countries, how they've got us to think in terms of countries. And, a lot of neighboring places are just like the same place at one time. It was, and even Renaud Rashidi, when I was listening to one of his lectures also, he mentioned that Africans never looked at things in terms of continents.
Exactly.
So, and then he said, if that would be the case, then Africa would be considered as Southeast Asia or Southwest Asia. Or it sounded like complicated to get our head around it, but I don't know where he got that from. But it was interesting how he put it, because we didn't think in terms of continents.
It's mad because depending how far you've traveled, you be aware of different places.
That's right, yeah.
But I believe it was all one land mass once upon a time.
Agbandje,
over millions of years, it has broken up and created the divides that it has.
That's right,
essentially, the original people of that time spread. They just went, they mingled with other creatures or other human forms, because I think science has found that there's over 5 or 6 different types of humans that used to exist.
Yeah.
And
now that's great logic also you've used as well, because what they try to, if you ever look at the anthropologists, they always try to explain that the time the continents were together, we're going back over like 50 million years ago. Then they bring us down to like the Australopithecines. That's only like about no more than 7 million years ago. So they're showing the time that we're supposed to exist. The continents were already, but that's another thing, you see, because I think that because we're not like the head of the research in these departments and we can't make these decisions and we can't see what was being already done by design.
Exactly.
So we have to go, well, according to this, it can't. We basically had to leave, and the content's already broken up. But that doesn't even match a lot of oral history also.
It doesn't. We really have been given, what do I say? I say that there's authors, when we say authority, they're authors of the rituals that we connect in our lives, but they're also the storytellers of the world. They don't own the world, they own the world's story.
Yeah.
So they have created a version of history that fits in with the narrative, that puts them in a position of power when they met everything here. You can't tell the age of a place. All you can tell is, I was here from this day. And from that day, once you've noted it, they can measure it. But it could have been there billions of years before you got there. So you can't compare an unknown. You can't compare it against, or you can compare it from what you know. So these guys have come, told a history of the world, told a version to satisfy our curiosity, and put us in a position where we repeat their stories or their lies as our truths.
This is why oral history is just so important, and I'll explain.
Hmm.
Even a lot of Black scholars, whether they're African Americans or even Sheikh Anta Diop, even though as much they brought some great works in, but they also had to go along with the common ancestor with apes.
Thank you.
So the problem is people say, well, even Sheikh Anta Diop said that, even Ranoka Rishivi said that, and even though they're great scholars, some of the greatest, but it's more to it than just that, because Diop basically, when he comes along, even though he's a great scientist and that, he's basically picking up where other people's have left off, or what people have, it's already there. I can't say out how they do it, but somehow they'll convince them as great leaders that this is true. I don't know.
Yeah, you got to have your own mind. You got to have your own logic. So anything you read is only a situation to debate within yourself. You must still apply your own logic.
That's right. Yeah.
So for when anyone mentions anything based in time, I already have mentally disregarded it. Yeah. When someone says 6,000 years, my brain has already dismissed what they're saying.
Yeah.
And now they're giving me myth in a way of fact. Only because if you look how time has been created, when the Roman Empire created the concept of time and spread it around the world and put time in alignment with the religious books they were trying to give us at the time. So they're the ones that gave us the 12 months of the year. They're the ones that gave us the 7 days of the week to fit in with their concept of the religion of God making the world in 7 days. None
BC,
of that makes sense.
When you say BC and AD.
Well, there was actually AM.
Yeah.
It was AM before it was AD. And it wasn't until the 6th century when they basically worked out that, because when they originally wrote the Bible, they said the world would only last for 600 years. And then when it was coming up to 600 years and they looked, nothing's changing, then they had to revise it and say that the world was now going to end in the year 2000. That's why we had all the computer crashes. And so therefore, at that point, they changed it to AD from AM. I only say all of this because when they constructed the 7 days a week, the 12 months a year, the 38 days or 28 days based on the moon cycle for the month, they created a time frame that they didn't exist 6,000 years ago. The Romans had their own calendars. The Africans and all the ancient people had their own calendars. They had their own ways of measuring the different cycles of the year. So when someone starts talking about years, it's like using a measurement that didn't exist before you had to measure something that wasn't using that time frame as a measurement. So
interesting.
Years means nothing. It doesn't mean anything. As soon as someone says that, I say, time didn't exist in that format 6,000 years ago. So how are you using something retrospectively to measure something?
Well, you know, it's funny how you mentioned about the year 2000. What I remember all their talks. Then we got to 2012. So just on our way to 2012. And I'm even myself, I went to Mexico September 2012. I visited to visit the Mayans. And I purposely planned it. Like I thought, I better go this year. You know, not like I was worrying about it at the end, but I knew it was something. I didn't think it was like the end of the world, but I knew it's something. So when I went over there 3 months before December the 21st or 22nd of 2012, so when I visited them, and not only that, even your average Mexican is quite on it, where they said, no, it's nothing to do with the end, just a new beginning.
Yes.
A new cycle. There's many cycles. It's not the first, it's not the last. And, you know, so when I remember like going into detail and he goes, I said, is it good or bad, basically? And it's not a case of it. It's good if you make it good, it's bad if you make it bad. But at the same time, it's channeling in and taking advantage of the new consciousness that's arriving. You know, so I definitely was happy. And then once I remember, watching the movie 2012, and you can just see it's just like putting fear into people,
Yeah.
because maybe what people are trying to show is it's not the end of the world. It's going to be the end of the people ruling. And in order for that to happen, people got to wake up.
I agree. People do have to wake up. It's just that we, how do you say, we focus too much on stories.
Yeah.
We don't try to fix our life. We try to fix our life story.
Right.
And in honesty, we're looking for that story if it be connected with some historical thing, not so much you when you went there looking for the energy. That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
But if someone is just looking for the story and trying to add a collection of stories to improve their opinion of themselves, because they've been given so many negative stories attached to themselves, they need to look for something else to balance how they feel.
That's right, yeah.
So if I realize all of it is just stories, none of it is pertaining to the days of my life unless I include it in my frame of how I look at the world, so that I'm looking through the glasses of those stories. And then I'm putting myself in a position where someone can stay in a glass, so therefore I can't see through it well, because I'm now using that. Why don't I just take away all their glasses and take away all their stories and basically work from the premise of how am I moving within my own mind and taking the journey from outside to inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Self-discovery.
Where there's so much to us. What we tend to find is when you start getting into yourself in your own mind, in the stories and dimensions, ancestors, all different things, you see that you got so much to do that the world outside you interests you very little. That's almost like someone trying to capture your attention by waving, look at me, look at me. And once they have your attention, they've got to keep it somehow. So they've got to tell more and more sensational stories so that you're in a situation where you're constantly giving them your attention, but giving them your energy and raising up their frequency.
Yeah.
At the expense of your own.
Yeah, that's it, because it's much more, it's deep, it's also, I was always deep from young anyway, what I mean? And once I had a globe from a child, I think even that's a great present anyone should give the children a globe, maps, so they can visual and form ideas just looking at these maps, because especially in some places people might live, you're just segregated, it's go and travel, go and see different things. You're not, just because you're born here, this area, you don't have to stay there, you're not stuck. The big world out there, so it's good. And you don't know who you meet. You meet so many different types of people when you travel, enlightened people and people you are, we're all meant to meet wherever we are, so
100%.
So with the Yoruba, we get back to the Yoruba. When they have the aspects of God like Shango or Ogun or Shan. Now Olodumare. He's the highest. Is Olodumare the highest?
Olodumare is there's a misconception in my understanding.
Okay.
So Olodumare is actually how do you put it? Best way to put it is the fabric, which allows you to have your experience. So if there was a platform would have to exist, a country would have to exist, a story would have to exist, the floor would have to exist so that you can experience walking on it. It's almost like, and if we take it really deep into our concept of what have you, it's that which allows you to imagine. It's that which allows you to create your experience inside. The other Orumeles, or the other Ogun, Shango, and even yourself, because you are a Orumele, you are an actual Orisha in your own self. because you are a conscious being that has the capacity with your relationship with all those different energies to be able to experience your life, to experience what takes place. Yeah.
Interesting.
So be that is Ori Sha, which is Ori, your head, Sha, which is selected head. Your head is connected. So therefore, it's your experience with these different intelligence energies within you that allows you to be able to experience what it is this world. Because as we were saying last time, that the Orishas are the dimension builders. We live in a dimension. The energy underneath the dimension is Oludumare. That's the energy. And it's never referred to as a god. It's just that which allows you to experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a whole thing where you're dealing in a dimension which is really a massive database of information, which your consciousness downloads to be able to formulate into pictures. And the pictures is what you see is what you place, what you think is what you see, and that's actually your reality.
Yeah. So the imagination
is really where everything is taking place. Right now, you're seeing me where? You're seeing me in your imagination. Yeah? You're not seeing me where I am. You're seeing me as data that your mind has collected and formulated a picture which you're now seeing within yourself. And then you're talking within your mind to that picture, which is now carried across as a data stream that is going along the Wi-Fi, which hits my laptop, then basically represents on the laptop, represents you as an image that I'm looking at. Am I speaking to you, or am I speaking to a digitalized version of you?
Well, yeah.
That's right. Unless I'm actually in your presence and I'm feeling your frequency first time, I'm speaking to a digitalized representation of you. Very cleverly done. And my mind forced me to say, oh, I'm speaking to you, but I'm really speaking to myself. I'm speaking to the data that I've constructed within myself from what the laptop has given me. And then I'm speaking back into that, and it's picking it up and doing the same thing for you.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny? Things like even the invention of mobile phones, and there's a cave in I think I don't know if it's South Africa or Zimbabwe. There's a cave, a big echo, like a real loud echo, and you think by this echo, it's not just like I'm not sure if you're aware of the cave, but it's some
things like that where
but they're like
go to corners and it'll go to another wall and different things like that. But
do you think people picked up through things like that how to understand sound more through echoes?
Echoes, oh God, I forgot the story of echo being the concept of a lost voice.
Okay,
I think it's to do with narcissism. And narcissism literally created, because it couldn't speak, it can only listen to echoes. But anyhow, that's another story.
Yeah, okay.
I can't help myself. I can't help myself. But something that they were explaining to me, because the way we do our stuff is we link you with your ancestors, and then you have meetings with them, and then they break down stuff to you. And they will be there. So you're in your own perpetual classroom every day with them trying to teach you what this reality is. But hot off the press, what they explained to me yesterday is that your body is your mobile.
Yeah.
Your physical body is that which connects to people.
I know that when you think of something, it's like almost a text message you've had put into your mind or your body.
It's taking it in the sense that your consciousness has to use a medium to communicate with other people.
Yeah.
So your body is that medium. That's which translates the messages from your consciousness to the external outside world. Yeah, you will send a thought, you will have a thought, you'll send it to your voice box. Your voice box will then encode it with a sound, not an audible sound, an information sound. You will then translate it to your tongue, because your tongue is that which allows your information to project it in a scattergun approach outside to the world. And then anyone that is around can download the waveform you just expressed and then reconstruct it as a sound in their mind. So we're only just passing energy and information from ourselves. You use your body to express your hands, your voice, your demeanor, and your frequency, your thoughts. So essentially, you are radiating and broadcasting all the time. Whoever is connected to your network or is in earshot of you can hear you and break you down. But your body is allowing you to speak and also to take in information in this dimension. You are your own mobile phone. What people have cleverly done is externalize you, making you redundant. Religion externalizes your spirit, making you redundant and now dependent on that. And the way in which they've educated all of us, they've put us in a position where we are looking to achieve their grace.
Yeah.
We're looking to achieve their, you've done well. And as such, see no value in ourselves. We only see value in impressing them.
Yeah.
So then they externalized our life, giving us names, titles, genders, what have you, storylines. And now we're following their blueprint and not living our own lives. Our frequency isn't doing what it was meant to do. When you break against the norm and do like what you do and go travel somewhere, everyone's, why are you doing that? What do you need to do that? And that's your consciousness, your spirit saying, I need to go over there and look at that. And everyone says, well, you could watch it on TV. Isn't that the same? No, it's not the same.
Not at all. Yeah.
It's not the same.
It's like people when they all say negative things about Africa, but they've never traveled to Africa as well. And have so much of an opinion, so much to say on it. And it's just like, well, this is what a lot of people do, you know, they just speculate a lot. But a funny with YouTube videos as well, I know you can find all different types of people on there. And I've seen a video put up, and you know, I don't dismiss the whole thing, but it was levitating. It was an African man levitating around fire and stuff.
Cool.
I mean, do you believe this? Because with videos, anyone can put videos on.
They can do. I have seen with my own eyes, telekinesis, people having objects move by themselves and what have you. So I've seen that. So I have no doubt. One of my first teachers literally had the capacity to make these sticks that he had move in front of me as a divination tool. And you're visually watching two people holding it, and these sticks would bend out or bend in. You're like, what the hell is going on? And I've seen enough and gone through enough to realize how energy is the true programming dynamic in this reality. Even when you speak, you're literally programming somebody else by having them take your information, reconstruct it into sound, create a simulated vision of what it is that you've said, judge it, and then create an emotion within them. So you biochemically change people when you speak to them. Based on what you say, you're a magician yourself. So that is something which we're doing daily, all the time. But because someone hasn't labeled it as magic, we see it under their label, and they take out the power of it, making it every day when it's a wonderful thing. So the levitation, 100% believe, all of that kind of stuff, because essentially a bird's power to fly is in that it believes it can fly. A bird jumping up 100 feet in the air I've seen little pigeons with sparrows with sparrow legs jumping up 100 feet, but us humans with thighs, with all this muscle, can't do so. And I know people could say it's the weight or what have you, but there still has to be some sort of propulsion from that bird's legs to be able to jump so high.
Yeah, definitely. And see, some people know how to work the energy to be able to, you have to be able to, you have to be able to do that. Otherwise, just, it can't be done, so.
And you can't be, there's formulas, there's rituals, there's all this kind of thing. But the most powerful being you're ever going to meet is yourself. And how powerful you are is really locked away in your mind under the guise of, oh no, I can't do that. As soon as someone convinces you that you're not the real creator and that there's something else outside, now you're looking for that thing outside and trying to give as much as you can to that, to only use a power that you naturally have yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's some things. I mean, one thing I was, when I was in Hawaii, I was by this place and they were doing, someone asked me, have I got a card to, basically, they're going to make the card fly.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm not giving you my bank card. So I had a card that was a rune key.
Yeah.
One of them, I said, you can use that, but, so we use it now. Done something with his iPhone or a phone, like touched it. And the thing was spinning, like, around the room. And I couldn't figure it out, like, and it's always stuck in my mind. That was back in 2012. And it was something that always stuck in my mind of, like, how did that do? And then maybe it's like trick static or it was a, yeah. I just can't comprehend how they done it.
There's so many things out there.
Yeah.
Where, if someone understands the energy physics in a certain environment, they can create things that you would perceive as miracles just because your mind can't perceive how it's done.
That's right. Yeah.
Even stupid things like static electricity. What is that? It's not explained to us, but essentially we know we can walk on a carpet, touch it, and then we set a spark. The science is probably there to explain what is transpiring, but the whole concept of how we move electricity within us, how when we walk into a room, we radiate our feelings and people can pick up how we're feeling before we've uttered them out, because we don't see people, we download them.
Yeah,
we download all their frequency, all their energy, all their information. But because of filters in our mind, we only see what we've been told we are capable of seeing. But if we ask you to think a bit harder and you go deeper into the database of that person, you're going to come out with information where you're like, oh, I didn't even know I knew that. You did. And then what people call as psychics are just people that can recognize, they can break down more of the information they downloaded from you.
Yeah. And it is what your mind can comprehend in that, because you get some people, and also in religion, they'll say, for example, things like that levitation, that's evil, it's devil. But they say the same thing about African spirituality. So it's always a negativity on us. And like basically when in ancient Kemet, for example, of course, it looks like religions, like they don't have really much good to say about it, well, even though they all learned it, all of them,
There's a story of how in Jamaica they banned obeah.
Obeah.
Obeah. Yeah, which was obviously the people's natural way of working with nature to create certain events that couldn't be explained by science. So when they banned it, it was as a result of a slave revolt, where they used that. And they used that energy, like in Haiti, in order to fight against the people that were coming against them.
Yeah.
As a way of preventing the people from being able to use that energy, they then made a mission to ban it, make it against the law to practice it, and arrested people and punished it so that they could put in that fear program into the generations of the children to come. With
Yeah.
the help of using religion, and religion has been used in so many different ways to be what's the saying that we have? We have the saying that man created a set of rules and called the author God.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Then when he created those rules, because there's no God saying that you should basically show respect to your master and your slave owner. This is all written in the Bible, these different things.
Yeah.
So effectively, at the time when the Romans were basically taking over the world through the Roman Empire, they had to ensure that time was introduced, money was introduced, writing from the left to right was introduced, because all the ancient people wrote from right to left, not left to right. And this
wow. Yeah. Okay.
And this was the impact that from right to left, right side of your brain is the creative side of your mind.
Yeah.
So effectively, that's where you create. The left side is the memory side of your mind. That's where all the information is stored. So you have a situation that you're now reading from stored memory, from left to right, not from created memory. So the information now wasn't for you to create and save, it was for you to use what is saved to create. So therefore, I could get you to create the reality I want by getting you to read from what I tell you is true. Yeah, and now you're making it true to yourself in the right side of your brain.
Yeah.
And you can only imagine from the limitations I've given you from reading from left to right.
Interesting. That is very interesting. Definitely. Yeah. So see, when we say are you aware of, like, back in the times when it's, they say Yoruba, the name Yoruba.
Yeah.
Is this an indigenous African name, or is this given to Africa?
Ooh, there's so many millions of people I don't want to offend. It is a name created by the people that were there.
Okay.
So therefore, there's two different things. You can have a European name for a place, and then you can have the name given by the people that are there.
Yes.
So when someone says they're African, it doesn't mean much. Yeah. Because it's from a European name that place was named, because it was called Sudan, Akibalan, all these different names before. But then it was called, agreed, not by Africans, it was called Africa.
Yeah.
When they carved the place up and gave all the different names to the place, like Nigeria is just, was it a lady something when she was having tea, said, oh, that designated Niger, what have you, let's just call it Nigeria. So the local people had no connection to that name because they never created it. It was part of the people that carved up the place, and also then wrote in the books that people were taught, this is the name of this place.
Yeah.
So they have no connection to that. So only unless you go into Africa, you go into those places and they name the village that has been that name for hundreds of years, or hundreds of concepts of years anyhow, then that is the name of that place. You come from that place. You say you come from Nigeria, doesn't mean anything. I have to agree that it means something, but I come from the village, which means I come from the land. I come from that space of land, which is an energy within itself. That's where I come from. So all the Western names for places don't mean much, but the African names or the local names for every area, when the people name them, and they name those places in concert with the land, because they could speak to the land. They could communicate with the land. The actual land was their friend. It was part of their ecosystem. They knew they could only take so much, but they knew they had to give so much as well. And that relationship became how these people lived in those areas for eons. It's not till people, and this is how the West was created, did not know how to look after their land, lost the relationship with their land, and their land no longer fed them. So they had to move to somebody else's land. and basically now live off the resources of that people's relationship with their land.
Yeah.
Before you know, wars are now taking place, not because people dislike that person, but the resources of where they are and their neglect through whatever reason has forced them to go take from somebody else. And then they carry on all the way around the world based on management, bad management, and their lack of relationship with their land.
Yeah.
The people that are living there are peaceful. Go ahead, sorry.
Lost touch with nature, basically, isn't it? And I mean, also a lot's down to the environment, isn't it? You know, being in a place where the resources are there and the good weather, you know, fresh fish, fresh everything, and so that makes a big difference. Now, interesting what you see, like the connection with a lot of African, in the continents of Africa, the connection with the Dogon and Kemet, the connection with the Yoruba and Kemet. Even there's a little story on my own tribe, the Ijaw, speaking about Kemet. So I don't know how to think these things sometimes, but there must have been some influence to have something very similar, or do you think that Africans, because you know, when, for example, when they came at the bottom of the Nile, when they came up now, and then the civilizations coming up to Nubia, Egypt.
Thank you.
So
there's all these different peoples, yeah.
Yeah. So this when they got all this knowledge and, you know, pyramid building, you have the Nok culture in Nigeria, Great Zimbabwe, and I think with the Great Zimbabwe is a funny one because they give that date very late, but that's someone else's date. You know, it's not actually our date.
Thank you. Exactly. Well, we got to start thinking in that way so that we can loosen and not think in their framework, so that we can start to tap into ourselves, not necessarily get the date, but get the energy.
Yeah, get the energy.
The energy, the understanding, wake up the databases within us that have all those different information that is now with us. But like you said, the chances are they traveled along the Nile.
Yeah.
All the way down through Niger River, all the way down through. And we're of the opinion, which is really weird, that there was no migration.
Yeah.
Yeah. And remember, this is something that took across, because even in Benin,
yeah,
it was a great civilization and built up infrastructure in Benin many thousands of years before anything was happening over here. They had themselves organized, civil servants, all that kind of stuff. So therefore, people always looking at primitive people from the concept of their lack of need to conquer.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not that they're not wise or they're not knowledgeable. That's why when they the people that went over and took the Benin sculptures and everything like that were amazed at how these people knew how to do something, yet they thought they were so superior, but they were unaware how to do things like that.
Exactly. So, modernism, the very modern way how to do them, ahead of the time.
Yeah, you know, in Nigeria, you go there, and when I can't buy pictures and sculptures, because I remember going there as a child and seeing these people being able to do amazing things, but not actually having any sort of training. It was within them. They hadn't forgot that they could. They just did what they felt, okay, well, we can do that. Let's do that. Because within them was the knowledge to do that. The less you are corrupted by someone else's point of view, the more you can see from your own point of view.
Yeah.
The more that you can create from deeper within inside yourself, and the more that you can actually bring new things that haven't been seen into this reality. Because really everything is you taking from deep within your consciousness, have it travel, then you as a consciousness use your body to articulate it in some sort of way. Be with hand, be with voice, be with feet, be with whatever. Yet you're transmitting from another inner dimension within yourself to be displayed in this world, isn't it? Anyone who's writing, literally sees it in their mind before they write it with their hand here. You're always taking from your inner dimension and bringing it out here to be broadcasted.
Yeah. And it's funny, with Nigeria, also had the North, they had their own Iron Age independently. And something interesting I was looking at is how did people in the beginning just figure out design, you know, like, or there's
Exactly.
so this is more the interesting part as well. And I was looking at Professor James Smalls, and he's talking about the iron in the ground, also the iron in our body, having a relationship. And there's like, when they say everything is a communication. So I'm assuming, like, in order to even get the idea of something that is actually within us to find what we need or what we're looking for.
Thank you.
Rather than how other people do it.
You know, this is Ogun.
Ogun, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you're speaking of Ogun, the Orisha of communication, yeah, it's the movement of blood within your body, because your blood is what? Hemoglobin, iron, protein. Yeah. So as blood travels through your body, the communication from your mind travels via your blood to the different parts of your body. Hence, it's the Orisha of communication that moves. Oh God, it's escaped. It moves with a Chosi, and a Chosi is the one with the arrow that finds whatever it's looking for, the hunter.
Yeah.
So what they did with their Yoruba, with the stories of the Orishas, was explaining how the world moves within us and how the world moves without us.
And so, these traditions are important, very important, especially.
So everything that is in the earth is inside us. Hence, we have deficiencies. You can have an iron deficiency. Yeah, you could have a selenium. I never heard of selenium before, but now there's selenium and copper and silver and gold and all these different deficiencies within us, because same way that the earth actually needs these things to function is the same way we need to function. We need them to function. So when we ate of the earth that wasn't contaminated, there was that cycle. The earth was feeding us with the different parts that we needed for our body to be able to function. But once they made that separation and we no longer ate for what we needed, we ate what tasted good, we're now in a situation where we're no longer eating to feed our body, we're eating to feed our cravings created by those tastes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So we need the connection, and our body knows how to fight it. There's a whole thing where your body has its own voice. We do a whole class on it where we talk about your body council and how within your body, the different elements have their own, the different organs have their own names. Yeah, because my heart can't be the same as your heart. It's gonna have its own specific name, like your one's gonna have its specific name.
Right. Yeah.
Then we find a way that you can actually find the name of that organ, and then speak to that organ, and then find out what's missing from that organ, so you can start to talk to your body. Your body is like a community, like a council, and it's all working in unison, and you're the actual disruptor, because you're the one who, due to your inability to control your emotions, are flooding your body with unwanted toxic energy all the time.
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, when they say we only use so much percent of our brain, you know, 10% or something like that. So going back to the time they were building the pyramids, these were able to use a lot more part of the brain. Would that be part of the secret?
100%.
Part of it.
You can use, all of us use, when you get out, 10% of your brain is based on 10% of the story that you believe in.
Yeah.
Once you can escape what you believe, travel within yourself, realize that you are you have the code or the code in to design the reality, not only in your body, but the reality in the world, then you now have, because we do a whole thing where we get you to remember your original language, not any African language, the language of your planet of origin. It's a little thing we go through, and before you know, an hour or so, you're fluently speaking in one of the languages that built the reality in your body. And there's millions of languages you speak from different parts and places in the dimensions that you've come from. But this language you speak, once you start to speak in that way, you can start to rebuild the coding that has basically been displaced in your organs. And you can get to a point, which we do in the more advanced courses, where someone can have an illness or a pain, and you can speak and disconnect that pain with your language. And basically the pain disappears. Yeah, it would be seen as magic, but it's really just you understanding that you, within you, is the codes for how everything happens in your body. Even the concept of sleep is your mind saying, we're tired, let's run the sleep program and shut down the body.
Yeah.
Everything within your body is a program being run by your mind. Yeah, every act, every emotion, every expression, every tonality is a program that you're consciously aware of, not aware of, you're using, but you have within you. So once you can get to that point where you're now in control of that, you can then start to redirect what your body does. You can start to fight what someone else may be trying to introduce to you as a program. Because you recognize, hold on, that's your program, that's your situation, that's your limitation, that's not mine.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's a next level of spiritual reality, but it's your spirit. It's not a story. It's not what someone else has told you. It's you actually being in direct connection from your consciousness with the other energies and intelligences within you.
Also, it's interesting with spirituality, especially in this day and age now. I mean, for me, it was about going out and learning and trying to experience and different people, trying to like, get more of an understanding of the planet and people on this planet. But for some, it might be different when it comes to spirituality, like the new age spirituality I'm talking about, like a lot of people, you've got these psychics now, and you've got like the astrologist, and then there's people like they're all over. You got them in different parts of the world. You get them in Nigeria sometimes. I get a lot of them messages sent to me all the time. But they mention money. They say, "Oh, I understand money for materials." But it just depends, though. Like it's within a day and age now when people got to survive. So it's, you can look at it both ways.
There is a reason for the money that I can't say what they ask.
Yeah.
But what it was explained to me, why people will charge to do certain things, is because in order to help you, they must engage in what is wrong with you. So whatever energies may be fighting you will then take on a fight against them. So they haven't just helped you, they've now entered into your war. And now they have that battle of whatever's causing problems with you is going to try to do the same to them. They know how to clear themselves from that battle, but they want to, like, imagine if someone is having issues, energies are attacking them, and then another good Samaritan walks in and then says, okay, I'm going to help you. And this person says, thank you, you're so kind. Now, the energies that was causing that problem to them and their children is now visited upon that good Samaritan, and will not only cause him problem, cause his children problems as well. Now, the person that has made the request can't do anything to help the good Samaritan. But the good Samaritan may go through financial problems like that person they're trying to help. So therefore, they would then if they're doing it genuinely, because some people have got all different reasons and make all different stories, but they now would want compensation for what they're about to go through, and their family is about to go through for helping you.
That's right.
Thank you doesn't cover it.
That's it. Yeah,
Thank you doesn't cover it, because now they got to go home and they could see their child sick and they're doing this and doing that. And then now they have to turn their energy around to help their own every time they claim that they're trying to help someone else.
Of course, you've got to feed the family. Otherwise, what's the point? Exactly. Totally. Yeah. So Ancestral Essence anyway. So have you been involved with any filmmaking with the
again,
Ancestral
I did
Essence?
a film with, we are embarking on this. We do a lot of because main focus has been the classes. So I have hundreds of hours of classes, literally information that we're going to disseminate through a membership that we're going to create on our website very soon, next month, in fact, where people be able to have conversations with myself regarding these different things. And we will put various videos and snippets of courses that I've done with information. But the only filming that I've really been in, other than interviews, I was with Ancestral Voices. I did a couple of videos with them where we did discussions on African spirituality, but that was about 10 years ago, and that was very good. But as far as making a production ourselves, we're looking very much, because YouTube and things like that has changed the playing field. So you don't need to do big productions. It's not like you're going to create it for TV. You're literally either going to create it and put it on your website. And so we've got plans to do all of this stuff, but we also like to do the interactive stuff, because there's one thing me talking about something and you watching it and saving it and learning from it, I suppose, or picking up what you can, because you can only hear what resonates with you. There'll be a lot of things people say that will go over your head. And it won't be till years later, when your head has caught up with that information, will what you've heard years ago make sense. We're traveling in a situation where you can only see what you understand. Anyhow, so we're going to do more interactive things where we'll go live, but on our website, in our membership page, and people can come and we can have discussions or whatever it is around spirituality or different things that they're going through, because we're not focused on the stories and the histories of the world. We appreciate it. And I know I can have a good conversation with near enough everyone on anything on that subject, because we spent years studying it. But we're more interested in you being able to handle your own thoughts, feelings, because for us, that's what spirit is. It isn't about what you worship. It's about controlling that consciousness that is you and being able to use that in order to conduct your life. So the real you is the consciousness using the body to have the experience. And there's a load of people giving a load of histories and a load of stories, which are great, but they're more often, unless it's like what you're doing, because you're trying to reawaken information in yourself. Whenever you go to one of those places, another part of who you was in a previous life is woken up. It's like, oh, that's in me, that's in me, that's the vibration. The same thing you was talking about, Professor Small, saying about the iron in you is connecting to the iron in the earth. The energy in you is connecting to the earth in those places.
That's right.
But the dimension and frequency of that place is energy in you that is allowing you to find them. Look, when you went and spoke in a previous video, you found that village, that place where there's only how many people that are there?
300. That's the Mani tribe in Thailand.
So therefore, that 300 people, the essence of who they were, existed in you. Otherwise, you couldn't find your way there. How many people never made it there? But then to be 300, people don't even know them. There could be 300 people in your street. It's like that. So you to find out in the middle of a place where nobody knows means that there's something inside you that needed to be reawakened, and to see that. And this is where we're saying your spirit, that which is in you, is here in this dimension to repair and to grow and to evolve. And to wherever it needs to go or not, to be able to bring on board what it needs for this purpose in this lifetime of what it came here to do. So our aim is really to discuss around those lines. How are you? What is it? Because I love it. And the history is necessary, but I'd rather you tell me your village's history.
Yeah, that's it.
And what did they do? Because their customs are part of your DNA energy matrix.
That's right.
The things that they practiced and what they did, that energy is up within you. And if you can reawaken that, the power that they had now becomes reawakened in you. You always had it, but you hadn't turned on the switch to actually look at it.
Another thing that was always interesting is when you do go to another country, and place Sri Lanka also, when I went into there, I wanted to visit the Veda people, the Veda tribes. Now, I didn't know anyone in Sri Lanka. Now, it was just the shopkeeper that was just a local shopkeeper from Sri Lanka. And, you just get talking to people. And one of the things I noticed, he actually had some black people working for them. But I never really seen this with usually just people only hired their own. So it caught me attention more. I'm having a good chat with him. You get on with him, he's all there. So I said to him, I didn't know for like about a month or something. I said, I'm going to Sri Lanka. I want to go to Sri Lanka. I said, I'm going around Asia. This is the same time I was telling you when I did the Thailand trip, and I went to Cambodia, then Vietnam, then Sri Lanka. So when I'm in Sri Lanka now, I'm going to be meeting the shopkeeper's brother. He's going to pick me up. So I don't know who he is, and I've only just met this person like within like a month. So when I meet him now, he picks me up from the area called Colombo. But but we've got to go on to a 3-hour drive to stay in a place called Koranagala, because these stay in their totally village area. So he's explaining, saying, what you want to do? So I said, there's these people called the Veda tribes. They're in a place called Dambana, and it's about 7 hours from where we are. So we were trying to figure out me. He was like wondering, is he like a tourist type person, or is he trying to live like us? When I say live like us, like I'm trying to, some people just go as a tourist where they only do so many things. So he basically said to me, how do you want to get there? Do you want to get there where we hired an expensive car? It costs you loads of money. I said, no, fuck you. He said, okay, we can get the bus there. And, I thought, you know what, I'll do that. He said 3 different buses, took 7 hours. Interesting. And then even when we got there, we had to get a tuk-tuk, them little things, take us in there. So we go to Dambana into the rainforest now, going to meet the Veda people. Now he's telling me he's never been there, and he's never heard of them. He had to do some research in order to, he had to find out the buses enough to get there. So after he's seen them and he got the experience himself, and he must have been at least like maybe over 50 years of age. So after we'd done everything, done a little bit of filming, had good chats with them and that, trying to connect with them. Then later when we were going back, he said to me on the way back, he said, thank you for the experience, because I did not have an idea in my own country who these people are and what they were about. And what was interesting, he was in Buddhism anyway. He was Buddhist. So what was interesting, when I was interviewing them, he was having to interpret, because it was easier for him interpreting, even though the energy was there. The energy was good. But when he's interpreting, because he's Buddhist, obviously, they think in the terms of, well, some people don't want to call Buddhism a religion, but I put them all kind of in one bracket a little bit, pretty much. So when I'm interpreting, I'm letting them know that here's how I'm going to connect with them. I'm letting them know where I'm from. I'm letting them know my Nigerian roots.
Yeah.
And I'm letting them know me tribe, Ijaw tribe,
Yeah.
Delta States, I'll
Yeah.
go to village. Okay, I'm letting them know. So I'm not just coming, I'm from this country over there. So sort of like what you were saying before, anyway, the village. So when would it started being more the connection with me and them than it was with him and them.
Yes.
Even though he's translating, but him doing the translating, being the receiver, when it's going over and it's coming back, it's like the conversation was almost understanding each other, even though we're not speaking the same language.
Yeah.
And they could feel more connected to me, and I could feel more connected to them because we're not trying to put ourselves in a box.
Exactly.
You know, so that's what was interesting. And I felt like a lot of those old indigenous cultures will definitely relate to parts of Africa. You know, I always find that as well. So that was definitely an interesting thing. Someone in their own country. It'd be like, say, for example, someone come to this country from wherever, and he said that there's these indigenous people in this country. They're in Cornwall, these black folks, and they've been there for, you know, but now, in order for me not to know that, or yourself not to know that, or the average person, it says something because I know that isn't that. There's a cheddar man that we're with. But at the same time,
that's right.
There was many migrations that came.
Exactly.
Whether it was African migrations, there was Africans in the Roman army. So there's every reason. There's the Phoenicians that came to the England 1,000 years ago. So there's always been movements of migrations.
See,
and people always act like Africa will just staying still. And this is the biggest problem when researchers are speaking on Africa. You know, they weren't really mingling with each other, or they didn't have the idea of nothing can. We did it all first and introduced those. You know,
history has been very, I always say, war start in the classroom.
Yeah.
Because when the teacher tells a version to suit the victor, then those in the class are made ignorant. They're lied to by omission.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not told that these things were created and people have been here from Africa forever. They were here before the what do they call it? The Angles came in the 5th century.
Yeah.
And there was people here when the Romans came in the 1000 AD or what have you. So they've been here forever. Yeah. When they came here, the actual historians said that the people were black here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So therefore, you know, the history of the world, like I said, the people that own the world, they don't own the world, they own the story of the world.
That's right.
And they've basically created a version of the story which negates anyone else. No one talks of the Moors coming here and starting off city and guilds.
Yeah.
The craftsmen that left from Portugal came to England and basically started Moorgate. Come on, the center of business. Yeah, all of this stuff there. If you want to look under the surface, you'll find it there. It's not something to, oh yeah, we did this and we did that. The only reason you need to boast or brag or defend is when you feel like you're under attack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once you understand the history of something, you're no longer under attack. You just understand that that person may be lost in trying to either lean on something they didn't do to make themselves feel better, or basically the other way around, where they need to lean on something to make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
So you understand the history of these things going back how many years, and you've done your little research and you found out, take the emotion out of it, because I don't need to prove to anyone anything.
Yeah.
They're only seeing me through the filter of their limitations.
That's right.
Yeah, not through the limitations I've imposed on myself. Although, so I haven't put any color or cultural or anything. I've got no time for all of that. Because like I've said, in my past lives, I've been all of those things. And it's almost like a man condemning himself through ignorance of himself.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So anything else you'd like to add on to our discussion? Like, feel free to speak, we
No, because the thing is, there's so look, when we do our classes and courses, these things can go for 4 to 5 to 6 hours because this subject is endless. There is so much and so many different things and so many different places we were just not informed. So therefore, when we're conducting ourselves, our biggest argument is ourselves, within ourselves. And it's usually based on the conflict between two different beliefs. So
Yeah.
you've got your programming, then you've got your nature that wants to literally fight. It's like you've got a calling inside you to say, there's more, there's more, there's more. And everything
Yeah.
around you is trying to know this is it, this is it, this is it. And you can step around and go behind the curtain of the story that they're giving you so that you can go and find out the quest that you have to understand. We're all separated by our need to know why.
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
people
of
just don't
course.
need to know. Some
Yeah.
people don't, and good for them, but some people can't sit still, can't rest because they know what they're seeing is not what's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the people like myself, like minds, that usually find us in different places and in different ways.
So I wanted to speak about some of the courses that you're doing in that. That's very interesting.
Well,
Um,
go ahead.
so was that a 6 hour course you said before? A 6 hour course, or is that one of them? Is
Well, let me say it's a 10-week course.
a 10-week course?
Class being 6 hours.
Ah, right. Okay. A 10-week course, the class of 6
and we
hours.
have 3 different levels.
Yeah.
We have the foundation level, which is really just pouring into you what you need to be able to proceed in the other two.
Yeah.
Yeah. The foundation is not simple. It's not easy. It's not hard, but it's more our progress is your progress. So everything is focused on you being more familiar with the energy within you and starting to understand how it's been marginalized and crushed, then how to heal it, then how to expand it so that it's now functioning, working for you. And that's the foundation course.
Right.
Across the 10 weeks, we cover everything from your mental health, your sexual health, how to clear your home, how to clear your own energy, how to speak with your own ancestors, because that is primary. We start the course off with that. Within week 3, we've got you talking to your grandfather and grandmothers and recognizing who's around you so that you effectively become a medium, or what they would call a medium, but within yourself. The voices that you hear challenging, confronting you, trying to put you down, you start to be able to have control over those things and recognize them as foreign voices within you. That's
now these online classes.
Online classes, they're all via Zoom.
Did you do any face-to-face ones in a classroom or that?
We did used to for years.
Okay.
For what, 7-8 years, we did everything in classrooms, down in East London, down in West London, different places. But after COVID, the cleanser, the COVID cleanser, that got everyone off the streets and into their homes. Essentially, we started online, and then from now, which was great because it allowed us to speak to everyone everywhere. Yeah. So we'll have people from Bermuda, Jamaica, South Africa, America, Dutch Antilles, Europe, everywhere. People from everywhere can join the class. We meet at a certain time. We finish at a time when we finished all that we have to do. Yeah. So it's great like that. And it's made life easier for me, obviously, because it's opened the whole world up to me.
Excellent.
Yeah, and people, it's all of us, versions of us, in different places around the world that feel isolated because there's no one maybe in their country or in their town that thinks that way, that has those curiosities. And then they can come where there's no judgment because people can talk about all different experiences that they've had, spiritual experiences that they can't explain to anyone. And they feel almost scared to say, because people will look at them like, are you sure you're okay? They're perfectly okay. And in our environments, this is where all of us are kind of like, we're all in a situation where we've had things, we're not always able to express them openly because people may frown on them, and people can pursue their own personal spiritual energy movement within themselves in a safe environment.
Yeah.
Where everyone's only ever looking for the true version of themselves, the best version of themselves. And the best version of themselves has to exist. Otherwise, they couldn't aspire to it. And guess what? It's inside you, waiting for you to find it.
That's right. Yeah.
So again, that's really it. The intermediate one is a bit more advanced, because effectively, and a bit more using your spirit in order to be able to travel deeper within yourself. That's where we start getting you to go to past lives and basically recognize why people around you are in your life and what's your previous relationship with them.
Yeah.
And also speaking to your ancestral council, your organ council, learning to make the oils that we sell on our website. We teach that in the intermediate class, and learning to be in a position where you realize that the mechanics of your body and your energy is run like a computer program with computer language, which is your own personal language.
Yeah.
You have the language you speak within yourself. And that's what does the maintenance at night. That's what does the maintenance during the day. And only because your mind is constantly in a state of fear, failure, and trying to achieve success, that you're constantly in battle with yourself. Why do we need to succeed unless we failed? We think we failed. Why have we failed? Because someone has told us we failed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what did we fail at? Not being what they want us to be. So we're failures, and now we have to bend over our power to them. It's a madness.
Yeah. So I remember you were speaking about initiation last time.
Okay.
And you said there's a side of it that's really mental.
Well, initiation for me, all of it is mental. You're just
okay. I think what you mentioned is there was more of a mental side than
the initiation, because even the word is in, isn't it? In. So initiating you. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to take against anyone that is conducting initiations and doing things like that.
Yeah.
Finding their way to connect to their spirit. But I always say initiation is you looking into the mysteries of your own mind and trying to bring the energies within you. That's right. In your stillness of thought, in your surrendering to your own wisdom, you will start to have energies rise up within you that have always been there, just waiting for you to give them permission to come forward. The problem is those energies, as they ride up, they get a clash against your belief systems. They get a clash against your programming. And that's where most of the problems take place, where you're clashing against what you've been taught to believe. And your spirit is coming up saying, I can do more, I'm more. And the society or what have you, the religions, all these different things are trying to tell you, oh no, don't believe in yourself, believe in us, trust us, we've got you. But they haven't got you. There's no intention of ever getting you. They just wanted to get what you've got. That was it. But you yourself, your own bubbling up energy underneath, just needs you to get out of the way. Get this belief system, that version out of your way. Let it rise up and trust that you inside know more. You're inside. Your energy has been keeping you alive this long.
That's right.
Most of the issues you got is from you not believing you're worthy, and you then self-poisoning yourself with your own belief systems to the point where you've made your own self sick.
And belief systems is, I mean, usually people think of religion when you say belief system. But even a negative belief system, what someone
Anything.
is give you, you can't do this, they tell you, or
That's it.
somehow get you to be unconfident, anxiety, low vibrational state. And, that's just a perfect example of it.
That's what education is meant for. The
Yeah,
whole concept was so that the people that saw themselves as better
yeah,
can teach those that were lower how those people that are above them are better.
yeah,
Yeah, it definitely puts an infrastructure of who's on top and you're below and you're aspiring to be them. If you never
yeah,
knew who they were, you would have no aspiration to be like them.
yeah,
And that's why those people that seem to be primitive in the village, their story is simple. They're happy with their story. They could go a whole lifetime not knowing about this plane, this thing, that thing, and they'll be perfectly comfortable and fine. They live in their own ecosystem. They live in their own world bubble.
yeah.
They don't crave what they don't know. There'll be one or two that will leave because their spirit says they need to leave, but the rest are quite content. And if you look around most of the world, most places, people are quite content, aren't they? Some
Yeah,
people don't have passports because they've got no interest in going anywhere.
that's right.
You
Yeah,
can't tell them that they're wrong. They just don't have your wanderlust. Nothing's
that's
wrong
right.
with that.
Yeah,
That's just them.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, interesting. When we speak about the ancient knowledge that they had and how the pyramids are built and things like that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm aware of in the modern day now, when people talk about Freemasonry.
Yeah.
Now, I'm aware of this one called Prince Hall Freemasonry, and they kind of consider it as if it's a black lodge, which it is, but at the same time, anyone can enter.
Okay, cool.
So now obviously black people can't just enter any lodge, can they? When I
Yeah.
say black people,
Well,
I mean
as far as I know, they can. To be a
any
Mason,
lodge.
you can be anyone. All right, there are lodges where you need to be nominated, of course, and you
Yeah,
need to be agree that you could come in. And there's various ritual for them. But when I've spoken to Masons, they've said they belong to quite a few of them. I think there's only
right.
8 people that are required or something like that, and each one has got a name of what they do. They won't tell you what happens in there.
Oh,
I'm
of
sure
course,
if
yeah,
you looked up on the web
yeah.
nowadays, there's enough
Enough information.
enough
Yeah,
information to work out what it is. And they are connecting to some energy. And the same thing that they do in African villages where they have, say, an Egbe, they have energy that's there that protects the village. And they understand that. That's part of their understanding of life, where they know there'll be certain energies that will come within them and give them different energies and powers and stuff like that. And depending on where you are, that's common conversation.
yeah,
In the West, because of the religion and told that this is bad and this is this, anything that you can do to help yourself is
yeah,
effectively bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
They all say it's Lucifer and it's Luciferian. It's this, and it's well,
Yeah, so
basically,
that's
yeah,
it. And don't
uh,
get me wrong, the West have their ones, very powerful
yeah,
energies that they connect to. So in the end, we very much stay where we are. Don't join anything that you don't truly understand or an energy
that's it.
that is unseen. Reason
Yeah,
being is you don't know what that energy wants in return
that's
for
it.
what
Yeah,
you're asking from it. And
yeah,
no energy requires money.
yeah,
Can't use it, but it can take from you what it is that your energy or your children's energy.
yeah,
Yeah, and that you're not compensating for when you're making your request.
yeah. Now, here's an interesting one because it can be two voices in the head. Like one is the one you say, it's the ancestors,
Mhm.
and then two, you don't know who the other voice is. So where
Yeah,
they ask for something back, basically.
yeah,
So how would you identify
good.
the voice to listen to?
Well, this is a great one, and thank you for that question.
Yeah.
Because again, you don't normally get to explain these type of things.
Yeah. Oh, I'm always deep.
Yeah.
I'm always, I'm out wise everywhere.
I love it. You require a method of communicating within yourself. So your own personal voice is almost like you using a typewriter. Yeah? You using a typewriter to make requests within the dimensions that are within you. So you almost make a holler into a space where there are different departments within your mind that can give you different information when you make the request. Now, every department has its own voice. It's going to sound like your voice, only because your inner voice is just a method of communication.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I say, okay, they say, okay, I want to remember this thing. I say, I want to go, the classic one I always love is to say, do you remember the name of your teacher at school, your head teacher?
Yeah.
And you will sit there for a minute. So you say, what was the name? You'll ask the question in your voice. And then you will hear your own voice return back with an answer and say the name.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've made an inquiry into your mind with your own voice. And the voice is your voice because it's not ready. It's just your way of communicating within yourself. Is going to give you the answer back.
Yeah.
So you're the consciousness, consciously like sitting there and you've got all these databases around you and you're typing on a typewriter and you're communicating with all of them and they're bringing the information back. It's just sometimes you type and you send it out there and there's nothing. So I got nothing. You didn't hear that inner voice, that voice from that information come back to you. And then you're at a loss what to think. What do I do next? You search into your memory because you search into the educated information that you've been given. You type in there, oh, education, have you got that? And something that someone has told you that you stored now sends the message back with that information.
Okay. Right.
So your ancestors operate separate from that. I.e., they will come and give you, when you're there, because again, once you got the information, you go through a whole debating process.
Yeah.
You go through a whole talking to a different sets of voices. Some of your ancestors, some are not, but that's a whole deeper concept. But you talk to voices in your head and your different belief systems, because belief systems also have voices within you, because you're about to do something and you run it through, say, a Christian program or Muslim program or whatever program. Spirituality program. That spirituality or whatever program is just a set of information. So once you put that information through that, based on the rules of that belief system, will determine what answer comes out at the other end. Yeah? So you're in a situation, someone's going to fight you to the death, and your brain says, you run it through the, what shall I do? You run it through the Christian program, thou shalt not kill. You're not, okay, I won't kill. Just because you run the thought through that program. Yeah? So that's running it through a belief program. But then you just, sometimes you're doing things and you'll just hear a voice say, you know what, try and do that. You say, what, you sure? Yeah, okay then. And that will be where an ancestor's giving you information. Something not solicited, not asked for, something giving you some advice about a situation. And at that point, you either take that advice or you don't take that advice. And later on, you're kicking yourself, said, you know what, I knew, and I didn't do anything, and now it's come back to bite me. And that's where an ancestor comes in. But the aim of what we're always trying to do is make that conversation with that voice the first voice. All the belief systems and all those different kind of voices not kick in. They're not the first program. They're not the first group of energies you speak to, because people want to program you so they can, how do you say, clone you without actually having to put any sort of chains or anything on you, because they've changed your mind to their belief system. Yeah.
Definitely brainwashing.
So that's really what it is. We want you to get to that position where before I speak, my ancestors are having that conversation within me all the time, so that they're the ones who decide the rate and the pace and the type of words and the tones and everything I use as I communicate.
Well, what's interesting, yeah, when we become one of the ancestors too. Obviously, when the day the physical ends, what would you see you'd be your mission in the spiritual realm? Is it about helping the ancestors, your future generation ancestors,
Okay.
before you come back to the physical body?
Well, first of all, you are an ancestor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what we say is our grandparents come back to teach us how to be parents.
Yeah.
So the cycle continues. So your grandparents are looking for a vehicle, your ancestors are looking for a vehicle to return back to this dimension to finish unfinished business.
Yeah.
Via the children that they created. So you become a ferry to just keep bringing them back. So you will pass, you will go to that realm. When you go to the realm, because there's a realm of the ancestors where it's another dimension just like this, but they have the capacity to be able to come back here. And I know that's hard for people to believe, but once you understand who and what you are, you can travel there. This moves both ways. The only problem is people don't believe it moves both ways. So they're stuck here.
It's sort of like a parallel universe.
The parallel universes, these are taking place all the time. There's meditations we can go to, we can do, or we do, where you actually see parallel versions of you in parallel universes.
Wow.
Yeah. And also versions of you in this universe. Because your consciousness doesn't only have to exist in one body. It can exist in several bodies at the same time. It becomes a point of how big can you expand your mind to incorporate these concepts? Because what people do out of ego is create laws and rules to minimize other people's expansion because they can't expand to that place. And to remain relevant, they need to marginalize people and their minds so that they can't expand beyond the relevancy of that person.
Yeah. Interesting though. Yeah, but fairly enjoyed some of those things we've been going over today though. So, always learn a lot and understanding these energies and how to work with these energies and how to dismiss the bad energies. And it's and what I think what probably the most difficult thing is always, it's not even down to just yourself. It's down to that you have to put yourself around the right energy. So some people you have to stay away from. It's
as simple as that.
And it's not personal, it's
nothing.
The way it is. Don't take offense. Our energies are not working together. So, it's I've got to do my thing, you do yours. I don't wish bad luck,
There's an aspect which we do cover in the courses we do about personalities and how essentially people can't control, people become a collective of personalities. Yeah. From all the events that you've had in your life, good and bad, each time you created a management system for that moment. And that moment, that management system becomes a program stored within you that when you get into certain situations, this version of you turns up. Yeah. So that's simple. The problem that you have is when you've had bad situations in your life and you weren't able to control it. And the version of you that you created to manage those ones are not as educated, they're not as controlled, and they're not as balanced. And when they take over your behavior, you can come across a bit crazy, a bit aggressive, very not sensitive, and you can abuse the people that are around you. You also have situations where from every relationship you've been in, you've had to be a different person.
Yeah.
Same with your mother, father, friends, you're a different version of yourself. Now, the issues people have is that the dark ones from the dark moments, they stay in control longer than the peaceful ones and the wise ones. Yeah. So
Yeah.
therefore, they can make a person come across crazy, a bit aggressive, a bit reactionary. And it's just because they got personalities that have come forward to defend them that are not very mature and literally don't care to blow up the house just to save one thing. So
Yeah.
they're the ones that destroy relationships. When you're looking at a person, you're like, who are you? What's going on there? And
Yeah.
the fact is, it's not that you don't like the person, but the darker personality spends more time in control than the one that you fell in love with.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, because some people can bring out the good in you, some people bring out bad energies in you, and it's all this thing of reaction. It's even like, for example, George Floyd, or there was other, black people who were getting killed by the cops and stuff in America, and then it all automatically it just makes us feel afraid, outrageous, justice, and all that's there. But but I remember at the time it happened, and not long around them time I was doing the podcast show with that.
Mm.
And I remember the people when they were on radio, now everyone was constantly addressing it. Now, when I started the podcast, I didn't even want to go into it because what it was is I was more concentrating on positive things
Mm.
because everything you say, will pass on a vibration to people.
Thank you.
And yourself is passing on,
Exactly,
so
within yourself, yeah.
yeah, so a lot of people are trying to focus on this, or even just the slave trade constantly. Like there was no other history before the slave trade.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, other people, they'll highlight the great things they did in history. So
Exactly.
we're just doing the same, but we're not just concentrating on the bad times of our history.
Mm.
So more enlightened, and also the spirituality part. I think a big lack of spirituality. And when I say lack of spirituality, I know people have religion, but I feel that that's controlled.
It is.
It might work for some people, but it doesn't help in certain situations.
Many
In many
situations.
situations, that's
Because
why I'm not religious to this day. So independent, independent way of trying to think independent, but at the same time connecting for like-minded people, and that's the only way the world moves for us.
yeah, you got to the first world is your mind.
Yeah,
Because the world is your mind. It's not the world outside is a story. What story do you believe in? What story have you seen? You're someone like yourself who's traveled to different places. Your world is larger than a person that's only stayed in their town. So when you're saying the word world, it's a totally different thing when they're saying the world. Yeah.
yeah,
We always laugh because when we do etymology and things like that, we laugh that the word only just had an L in there and became the world.
yeah.
That's all it is. It's just an L, one more letter in one place, and they've just stretched the word to the world. And that's how, if you control the word, you control the world.
Yeah.
So it's one of these things, you've got to be yourself, find yourself, become yourself. Otherwise, you're fighting the story that someone gave you of yourself. You're trying to overcome that George Floyd and that whole thing. I couldn't watch it. And the reason why everyone was annoyed is we associate by appearance, not by consciousness.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. There are prisons everywhere around the world. So I can't say in some black country that the people are bad. There's some bad people there. I don't associate with them because we're the same color. Yeah. And some people have certain ways that I don't associate with that because we're the same color.
I mean, it's obviously clear that there's, especially in, it's worldwide, don't get me wrong, but especially in the United States, it's even the gun policy, first of all, it's the fear of like black people in America. I mean, I've watched a few of them going to move to Ghana. He was
Mm.
saying that they want to raise their children up there, fearing of their son being shot in America
Yeah,
and
of
having to
course.
go through. Now, that's the real difficult thing, especially, but I think I'd have to leave America if that was the case. And it's not just that simple, but like you only know what you're raised upon. The African Americans, see
That's it.
themselves as, but it's about. I mean, America needs to lose its ego. To lose its ego.
Look, there is no punishment for being
Yeah,
racist.
yeah,
Yes, you can lose your job. Now the LBGT, if you say anything, you can lose your job, your position. It's become very intolerant and what as they call it, council culture or what have you.
yeah.
But
Oh,
you
you
have
can't.
to, the
That's it.
thing
You're
in
right there.
America,
Yeah,
you have to remember that they changed the laws in America, but they didn't change their minds.
that's it.
Yeah. So the people that saw things in that way, nothing was done to deter them seeing that way.
Yeah,
Yeah. And remember, this is the hardest thing that comes out of slavery. And this is why I'm very, not to say upset with humans, but I say, you know what, look at this all the way around. Yeah. Whenever you look at plants, and animals and how we consume them for food. We never ever think of what it is that they're going through. We never think of plants losing their children for us to consume. We just say, oh, thank you, plants, for basically existing so that we can consume. The
that's right.
same
Yeah,
thing for animals. When we're eating them, we don't see them as anything but animals.
yeah.
How many times does anyone sit there and think this animal died and his brother and sister, his uncle, his auntie, they all got slaughtered at the same time? How
Yeah,
many times have any of us sat down and thought about it like that? Never.
exactly.
Yeah.
Unless it was happening to a bunch of humans, then you'd recognize it.
And we have to
Yeah,
remember back in the day, when it was in slavery and some of those things, in some places, they saw black people like that. They just saw them as cattle. They didn't respect, oh, that's your brother and sister or what have you. They like we done with animals. Then all of a sudden you're asked to care about something that was animals.
yeah. And it's
Yeah.
embedded into most people,
And again,
So,
how would it be to take us out of it?
I mean,
Let
the
alone to
times when they
take
were
someone
hanging,
else out of it.
there were times when they were hanging people and the local people, whether they're innocent or guilty, come and watch and just stand there. And yeah, okay, maybe there's nothing they can actually do, but what I mean is it's just become the norm to them to watch that, and it becomes sort of like a Saturday night show,
They all well, there's not much else going on.
if you know what I mean.
Yeah, there's
Like,
not much else. There's not much TV or anything. Nothing
yeah,
like that was created to take them off. So we have to engineer concern. Yeah. And engineering concern is something someone never saw it like that before. Now they're forced to see it like that. They have to take a time to learn to love or to see it in that way. And if you're someone who's waiting for someone else to give you permission to be yourself, you're again stuck in the story of the world. I
yeah,
don't care what anyone thinks because I know who I am from a conscious perspective. I'm not who I am from a story, identity, label perspective, because I don't own the labels. I didn't create them. So therefore, I can't control someone who wants to assassinate a label.
yeah,
George Floyd was a label assassination.
yeah,
So anyone who ascribed to that label was automatically hurt by that action.
definitely,
Everyone was hurt by that because they saw, and anyone
yeah,
who cares for everyone is hurt by that because it was so blatant or what have you. And the guy in question who did it, it just looked so remorseful because the version of him, the personality that thought that that was okay, didn't see anything wrong with what he was doing.
Yeah.
It's not till people turn around and so look what your personality is doing to that person. Oh,
Yeah.
and then knowing that it was him and he had no power to stop it, he had to accept that's what he had done.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he would be amongst his friends and what have you and not feel any sense of remorse because according to that version of him, he didn't do anything. He didn't do nothing to a human being.
Yeah.
He did it to cattle, to something that wasn't worthy, like a piece of chicken, that wasn't something worthy of him caring more of what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, reaction, it seems that's what it all is. How people choose to react. And your reaction will lead to whatever the motion it's going to be.
Often something we teach on the course is the filters.
Yeah.
You have been given filters to filter information. The filters are like belief systems. So as the information passes through those filters will narrow based on the laws and the rules of that filter, your outcome at the end. You'll see it the way you see it according to your filtered belief system. So
yeah,
it's like that, you know, we have to really get to that point where freeing your mind is understanding it. And that for us is what spirituality is. It's not labels. The Orishas, people speak of them in a God or demigod type way, when they're not that.
Yeah.
They are literally aspects of intelligence within yourself, linking to you with aspects of intelligence within everyone else and in everything else.
Yeah.
They want to carry on teaching us, but the problem is we want to worship them instead. And we want to pray for things in the world when they're like, hold on, what do you want to pray for things in the world when the world is within you?
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
It's a crazy
interesting. That's very interesting. That it is. Makes a lot more sense anyway, you know, than what we get fed.
That's
And
people initiating into what? Into yourself. That's what I'm saying. They can initiate you into a story, and now you're in that story. You're in a situation where you want to keep up with all the different clothes, garbs, everything that connect to that story as far as you've been told. But are you connecting with you?
Have your own story.
Exactly. You connecting with you. After you've done those things, you're now hoping that you've been good, so you should be rewarded.
That's right, yeah. Rather than someone else write your story. It's just been going on for too long.
Yeah. So now you're this, now you're that, now you're this.
Now, interesting thing, like I say, the journey for myself was like, obviously, I was wanting to know more and more, learn history, and along the way, visiting indigenous people, connecting more with spirituality. And then now I'm at a point where I've realized something now, that something about like the intellect. The intellect now, I've realized that it don't stop.
Of course not.
So if you think that, okay, you can take it as far as you want it, but it don't stop.
It don't stop.
So it's impossible in this lifetime, no matter how many books you read, no matter how much you study, there's still always that more to study and learn. So think, well, because I like to think a bit more ahead.
Yeah.
And I look at it and think, well, with spirituality, this is something consistent.
Yeah.
This is something that, yes, you can find out something new, but it wouldn't be from going and carbon dating something or DNA testing someone or experimenting this way on something. So that's where like I'm more coming from with it, you know.
There's a simple saying we have.
Yeah.
That if I've lost something in my house, I can't find it externally in your house.
Yeah.
So no matter how far you look externally for things, you're not going to find what's going on within you.
That's it. Yeah.
So there's a point where you just have to stop and say, okay, I've got to go inside now. And how is it, do I work? What is going on? And then as you make that journey inside yourself, you discover everything behind everything else and why you have an interest. And you get to that 0 point where you are the consciousness sitting in a chair looking at your creation. Because if there was a goddess sitting there looking at his creation, guess what you are? You're that God looking at all the different pictures, images, stories, ideas, realities, non-realities that you've created. There's things that you still got to discover as stories not told in this world that exist in perpetuity, waiting for you to one day discover it. If today you watch a movie that was made 10 years ago, if you've never heard of the movie, never been told about the movie, and you watch it today, as far as your mind was concerned, that film was created today. It wasn't created when they said, because you weren't aware of it. Nothing had come to you. So the reality of what you're experiencing is only that which you're creating today for you to experience. And the further you go back, you realize that there's only one source of your experience. You're looking at your creation. That's it. But how, why, what are we creating? What are we capable of? And then even when you get to that point, you got to look at, it just goes further on. How did you end up in this dimension to create what it is that you're looking at? And how many dimensions do you exist in? And then the story goes on and on and on. And really, that's our thing, that we're just trying to get you to that place where, first of all, you're sitting in the chair and you're looking at all the creations. You're looking at everything coming to you as data, then your imagination creating them as simulation videos in your mind, what you call life.
You ever listen to Billy Carson?
All the time. I love Billy Carson. Got all the books, watch most of the videos, and I love his take on history, bringing the Anunnaki, the story, his trough, the Atlantean. And my favorite line from that is what we always use is, you are the formless creating the form. And that's all it is. You're the formless creating the form. You're that which has no shape or no thing, and you're creating the physical form and everything to look at. That's
interesting. What he was on an interview with I think it was 19 Keys. And interesting talking about dimensions, and then he got asked what is the third dimension, what we can see everything, and then he explained the fourth. And the way he put it with time is that we're sort of like looking down at it, sort of like as how can I put it? We can see everything all happen at once.
Yes, it's our mind that slows it down.
Yeah, so it's hard to comprehend that. I mean, I was trying to like think, how could you see everything happen at once?
Helicopter.
Yeah, okay.
Because when I say the helicopter, if you was in a helicopter, you went above a marathon.
Okay.
You could look down and see the whole course of the marathon.
Yeah.
From beginning to end.
Ah, right.
In 1 second.
Yeah.
You could see everything. But if I put you down on the ground to run the marathon, it would take you several hours to go through each of those different roads and streets to get to see one end and the other.
Yeah.
So the higher you are in your mind, the more of everything you can see instantly. Interesting.
Yeah,
that's it.
Interesting.
The lower you are, you can't see because you have to go through everything. And we deliberately drop ourselves so that we can go through each experience. Whereas once we go higher, then we can see much further into the future at one time.
Okay. All right, one last question to you on this topic, and we've been going for a good while, and I've been enjoying this.
Go ahead.
So now you're going to say, I'm in a lot about the fifth dimension. So can you see us like we're going into a new cycle now, or some sort of can we go into, can the planet itself go into another dimension, or is it only some people who are able to reach other dimension working on the energies, or is it the fact that we're in a time now when they talked about things like 2012, they made it negative, but it was something much more positive.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the cycle, it's slowly that change and that time's coming, but time is an illusion also. So,
well, I just quickly go over the dimensions because
yeah,
people have mysticized science, straightforward things.
right, yeah.
So the dimensions is the creation of the image inside your mind. Yeah. So you can only see what's going in the picture that you can.
Yeah.
So one dimension is, say, length. 2 dimensions, length and width.
Yeah.
3 dimensions, length, width, and height. 4th dimension now includes time. What is those things in that shape now moving? 5th dimension is the bigger picture. You're just expanding each time how much data you need in order to create a bigger image in your mind.
More and more
the world
awareness
exists, exactly. The world exists at all dimensions. It's really what dimension is your mind able to create the image within your mind. So we're already at a place where everything is infinite and everything is possible. But if you're stuck in a storyline, you're limited to the storyline that you're in. So once you can travel within yourself and say, okay, I'm seeing, like, I give a classic one, a very basic one, your dreams.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Now, if you look at your dreams, 9 out of 10 times, they're 2-dimensional. As in, you can't see yourself. You can't see your body. You can't see your hands. You almost like eyes looking at a picture. Yeah. So as your eyes looking at a picture, you're just seeing what is taking place. There's not much of a 2, 3. It doesn't feel, sometimes it feels as vivid as here. And when it feels as vivid as here, that's when you're in a dimension where your mind can create a 3rd-dimensional image from that place where you are. The fact that you can see in color, you can hear sounds in your dreams, yet you're in a room, where your eyes are shut and there's no sounds because you're lying down in your bed, means your consciousness has traveled to another dimension where it can then create an image from the information of that dimension.
Yeah.
Then create with download from where it is and be able to create an image. That is 3-dimension too. It can hear sounds, it can hear this, it can hear that. Yeah. So we are always, it depends on where you go. And the reason why you can't remember dreams is because the dimension that you was in within your dream is not the same data format as the one in this dimension. So you can't carry the information or the memories of that dream into this mind, and they fade quickly. It's almost like saying, okay, we can't hold that format that you had in that dimension, in this dimension. So we will see it for a minute, remember it. And as the day goes by, before you know, it's faded. I can't remember. Because your memory structure in this reality can't hold all the different structures of information from other dimensions for a long time. There's a whole different science to it that we've spent time and gone through it so that we're aware that essentially the 4th, the 5th, the 3rd dimensions are just expansions of your awareness of the information that your mind has gathered. Yeah, nothing needs to change. This planet has been around for billions of years. Now they're just going to let people know what's going on. We're not even the most intelligent races that have been here. From when you're talking about the pyramids, the people of that time were smarter than the people of this time.
I definitely agree.
Yeah,
definitely agree with that.
So what warnings did they get? Why weren't they woken up? And they were destroyed. and another dimensional story was built, as our one will be destroyed, and another one will be built on top of this, because we're in the year 2000 and something, which means the time that the church has had control of time. And when they go, another group of people will start from zero and build it to whatever they want. Yeah. And the date will reflect how long that they've had control of the world story.
What do you think of you must have heard about like Genghis Khan back in the day. Yeah. Now when he was conquering, he was everywhere. He was very powerful. And it's funny how it all ended for them, and ended like for the Mongols expansion and that.
Yeah.
And I was I thought it was a guy, Jordan Maxwell or someone like that.
I think I saw that. I saw
about somebody showed him something, and then he realized, I don't want no part of this, and then has gone back. I don't know what it was, something secret. Because nothing was stopping that guy. He was just going and going and going.
But there must be a time, isn't it? The old saying is, when you prepare for war, you must also plan for how you're going to behave in the time of peace.
Yeah.
And when you're in the time of peace, you must also be prepared for eventually there will be war. So it's only with wisdom and time you realize you can't fight forever, but then you can't be at peace forever either. Yeah.
That's it.
So Genghis Khan and them guys must have realized they were gonna die, and no matter what they were keeping going, eventually will come to an end. It's like, how do you say, your children can emulate you, but they're gonna do it their own way eventually.
That's right.
So they won't be able to sustain what you've created indefinitely, because they will change it according to what their desires are and what happens for them in new times.
That's right. I mean, funny you mentioned about dreams. Aboriginal Australians always talk about the dream world, and this life's just like a dream, basically. You know, and it's a funny way out to view life. And you know, you need to maybe take it so serious, and you know, what your attachment to your land, your attachment to your ancestors, your culture, and you know, a lot of people don't like to carry on traditions in this day and age. But what do you think of yourself? Anyway, is it's about are we passing on, like when I have children myself, obviously I'm going to be explaining the history, where we're from, of course, tell them the tribe, everything like that, and then hopefully they go and visit these places. And
well, hopefully, you know, you can only hope.
Hope, yeah.
You can only hope.
Yeah,
you're a vehicle to bring your ancestors here.
Yeah.
So the way that they brought you here.
That's right.
Yeah, because your parents brought you here. We have a saying that when you die, you visit your ancestors. But when you arrive, your parents are your ancestors waiting for you. So there's a welcoming party on both sides of the equation.
Yeah.
So you, whilst you're here, can only do what you have come here to do. There was a blueprint created for your mission when you came to this reality. And whilst you're here, you're to fulfill your blueprint. You're to fulfill all the reasons so that you don't need to come back here and have to do what you should have done the first time.
That's right, yeah.
But then your children will use you as a vehicle to come to this reality and have you in their life for as long as you can be in their life, and what capacity, because you still got to live your life also. That's otherwise, you've got nothing to pass down to them. And it may be your grandchildren that pick up your fight because your children were too close. They were going through what they weren't getting. But it's the grandchildren that would say in admiration, oh, look what my granddad did. That's part of me. So I want to pick up what he's got to do.
Yeah.
But first of all, you've got to do it for yourself. You've got to do it to bring out the very best version of yourself out.
Yeah.
It's there. And the very best version of you, of yourself, is the one that's doing what it was meant to do. not
That's
for
right.
someone, not for this, not for job, not for that. It's what you were meant to do, because that's when you feel most alive, when you're being most alive, doing what you was meant to do.
Yeah, I want to appreciate your time
No problem.
today anyway. A lot of knowledge, and you know, great to even have you back on part 2, you know. Probably in the future again to be a part 3 and whatever else.
No, brother, we'll get a
Definitely,
chance. I've got so many, look,
yeah,
there's so much stuff. We could go on for hours
yeah,
and we haven't scratched anything.
exactly. But you know, information is always key, and this is what it's about anyway, connecting with our people anywhere, you know. So I want to thank you very much anyway, Edison Agbandje,
No,
and
sure.
make you get right that time.
I was going to say that if anyone is interested in any of our courses, they can visit ancestralessence.com, register there. They don't need to, but they can go on the page and see the details of a course we've got starting in May the 21st, 2023, for when, because people might watch it after that date. But if not, they can still go to the site and sign up and maybe become part of our membership, where they can start, where we can still have things like this, but they can actually ask me questions and we can create something from there. So thank you very much for the opportunity, James. It's been a pleasure. And again, you've asked me some nice questions so that we can bring up some answers that people don't normally ask, and unless you're in the enclave of one of our courses and classes, people don't discuss these things often. Not like that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to post the links of the courses on the video.
Excellent.
So anybody who's interested, wants to do the courses, I think it's definitely something you should look into, because, you know, it's about going out and finding your own information, and what we're being fed is it's not healthy, basically. So I want to thank you very much. This is James Diboe on Discovering, dedicated to original peoples as always, and Edison. I want to thank you very much, and we'll do this again. I know you're a busy man, I'm busy myself, but we'll connect again. You know,
100%, my friend. Thank you, and thank you for anyone that has listened all the way through. And I hope you found something useful from what we've said. Yep. Thank you very much.
Peace anyway. Some deep stuff, and we out of here.
All right. Let me.
Peace and blessings.
I'll end this.